Hey Swifties! Welcome to a brand new episode of Swiftie School, where together we walk Clownelia Street covering the latest news and Easter eggs from our fearless leader, Taylor Swift. I'm your host, Reagan Bailey, and it is enchanting to have you here. Now that we're out of the woods, let's get into today's episode.
It's another great day to be alive at the same time as Taylor Swift. Hello. Is the air feeling rusty? Is it feeling dusty, crusty? Because it's officially salt air and the rust on your door. Are you guys sick of hearing that song yet? Because I've heard it probably 62,000 times the past week, and I'm still not sick of it. Now, before we get into today's episode, welcome back. As always, this is just a podcast expressing my thoughts and opinions surrounding all things Taylor Swift in the music industry, and it is in no way associated with Taylor Swift or Taylor Nation, although I would love it to be. Now, today, let's go ahead and dive into the latest and greatest Swiftivities, which is all of the new Eras Tour openers that Taylor has announced for the London shows. Now, before we dive into that, let's do a little brief overview of some of the things that have happened leading up to this point, because it's one of those months where I feel like so much has happened, but also so little. And there's a lot in store on my end, because August, while it is the saltiest and rustiest and dustiest of months, it is also the 1-year anniversary of Swiftie School, and I cannot believe that this random little idea that I had 1 year ago has blossomed into one of the most fun passion projects that I have ever indulged myself in. So if you've been here from the beginning, thank you so very much, and be on the lookout because I have so much planned, and I truly do mean that. I just had a meeting talking through all the things that I'm planning for this month. One of them being really exciting. This was because so many of you guys requested it. So this month, every month I should say, I host what I call a clown call. And these clown calls take place over on Patreon. We do them through Google Meet, where essentially anybody who is a member of my sorority or senior tier of the Patreon can join the clown call. The clown call, we get on for an hour, we do trivia, we play games, we have giveaways, discussion topics, all the latest Taylor clowning situations and all that jazz. And on the clown call, we kind of just have fun and like get to know each other. And I really do love it. It's truly one of my favorite perks of the entire Patreon experience. But right now, that's only open to seniors and sororities. So in celebration of Swiftie School turning 1, I am opening it up to literally anybody that wants to join, meaning you can join the $2 tier of my Patreon and still get access to the clown call this month. So it's a great way to just have a little fun, and hopefully by the time the call happens on August 25th, we'll have something really exciting to talk about. Cough, cough. Hiss, hiss. I should say, slither, slither, Reputation TV announcement, maybe by then. But if not, of course, we'll have plenty of other things to talk about. So that is one fun thing that I have planned for this month, including some other giveaways that'll be happening on Instagram, in the Patreon, in the broadcast channel, maybe a little new merch coming your way, and some really fun special guests on the podcast later this month. So look out for all of that. Plus, of course, I will be attending the Eras Tour, and unironically, the 1-year anniversary of Swiftie School happens to be the date that I'm attending the Eras Tour. So really, really fun and serendipitous all around. And all that aside, the other very, very, very exciting thing happening, and you guys have absolutely blown my socks off with this one, is the in-person meetup I am doing in London outside of the Black Dog. Now, for logistical reasons, the Black Dog wasn't necessarily going to work capacity-wise and all that jazz, so there is a park directly across from the Black Dog, and so far there are close to 200 of you that are coming to this meetup. So I kind of am scrambling because I really only thought like 20 people would come to this, but now there's close to 200, which of course, the more the merrier. Bring your friends, bring your mom, bring your grandpa, bring your boyfriend, husband, I don't care. Anybody's welcome. I ordered name tags. I ordered something really, really, really funny that I can't wait for you guys to see. Everybody who comes will hopefully be able to get one. I literally was dying laughing whenever I ordered it. It's really funny. So my hope is it's going to be like just us kind of being silly, having fun, trading bracelets, taking pictures. I'm going to have some games and icebreakers planned for us to just like clown and have fun. And it's going to be cute and adorable. And you can come for 10 minutes. You could stay for the whole 2 hours. It's totally up to you. So anywho, that's the latest Swiftivities. Let's go ahead and pivot. The podcast episode today is, did Taylor just expose her Spotify Wrapped? And I say that because With the announcement of these 5 new Eras Tour openers, I feel like Taylor is giving us a little bit of a glimpse into some of the artists that she currently has her eye on. I think this is interesting for a couple of different reasons. We know Taylor is philanthropic at heart. She is an incredibly giving person. And while I don't know her personally, I think one of the characteristics that you and I both agree on when it comes to Taylor is that she is a gracious, kind, humble human being. And it seems like in this later stage of her career, she's 17 plus years into making music and putting music out there, that she is really becoming this advocate and role model to a deeper degree than we had seen from her before for a lot of these up and coming artists or other artists that perhaps are very established that she may believe don't have the recognition that they deserve, or she just wants to give them the spotlight or share the stage, whatever it might be. So I think it's really cool, number one, that these 5 new openers that were announced are all females. We previously saw Benson Boone, obviously an incredible artist, but this second round of London shows in August are featuring all females, which snaps, we love. Now, I don't have too much to clown about in regards to these London openers. I think the most interesting call out that I have for you is, lately we've been sticking to the facts, right? I've mentioned that clowning has gone a little too far, and I was happy to see that a lot of you guys agreed with me with these like absolutely off the wall, in the deep end sort of clowning numerology situations that have happened as of recent on social media, circling like TikTok clout and monetization and people just kind of like scrambling to I don't know, I guess profit off of the fame of Taylor. And it's something I've become really conscious of because I want to positively contribute to the conversation whenever possible. And I never want to spread misinformation or any of that, which is why I'm saying we're sticking to the facts when it comes to clowning. So, when looking at the facts, we know that Travis previously called out the London shows. He didn't specify, the last round of London shows or this one. We obviously saw that the last round of shows was clearly an absolute banger. So maybe we'll see, something incredible happen at this second round of London shows, being that we already got an addition of new openers. My fingers are crossed that there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on these shows and a lot of people excited about this sort of like end of the second leg of the tour before she takes her final break and closes things out. So I think that's interesting and something to keep our eyes on. When we're looking at the TikTok little bead game as of recent, it seems like we're kind of just moving into the red era for week 8. I don't have much to say about that other than a reminder that the bead game does end on September 12th. And a lot of us have been looking at the date of September 13th and December 13th. So dates to keep our eyes on, obviously, the final show in London. We've got 9/13 and then 12/13. And then naturally, I'm clowning for my show, which is on that Saturday, August 17th, because the Victoria and Albert Museum located in London did state on their website that they are going to briefly close on Friday the 16th. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, does this mean that they're going to pull the Reputation outfit or a portion of the Reputation outfit, maybe meaning the snake microphone, from the exhibit so Taylor can use it on the 17th, 18th, or 19th for Rep TV? I will say a little addition to this note is I researched again today on their website to see if they expanded further upon this. And I don't know if this was there before or if people were omitting it when reporting on this. But verbatim from the Victoria Albert Museum website, it says, please note a small section of this display will be closed on Friday, the 16th of August, due to fashion and motion orange culture. I'm assuming this is some other exhibit happening in the museum and it might just have some crossover with that Friday the 16th date. So kind of removing my clown nose when it comes to the theory of like removing the rep microphone. If anything, when it comes to Rep TV, I think that we will see something entirely new versus a vault outfit come through, because we really didn't see a vault outfit. We didn't see a vault outfit come through for the other announcements, did we? No, it was all new outfits for 1989. So anyways, let's go ahead and dive headfirst fearless into these new openers for London. Sofia, Isella, Holly Humberstone, Suki Waterhouse, Maisie Peters, and Raye. Hopefully I'm saying all those names right. I think this is an interesting mix of artists. Obviously, I mentioned that they're all female, and truly we have a broad spectrum here when it comes to varying levels of sort of popularity and success. I think it's really fun. A lot of the notes that I took for you guys on these artists, I definitely learned a lot of new things, and I think if anything, we're getting a snippet of insight into maybe some of Taylor's favorite artists right now, or people that her team or people in the industry are kind of deeming as someone to look for or look out for in the coming years when it comes to up and coming artists. We see that Taylor, time and time again, is giving other people a platform or putting them on a pedestal whenever she is gaining accolades. So I think this is true Taylor fashion for her to choose this sort of 5 varying artists that are all sort of in different stages of their careers. And with that being said, I want to start out with Sofia Isella because I will say she's the most sort of mysterious of them all because she is a smaller artist. She's only got 335,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which is obviously still a significant amount, but it's small comparatively speaking to the other artists. And she is the only one out of the 5 that have been added that's actually born and raised and native to Los Angeles or based in California or even the US for that matter. All of the other 4 artists that have been added as openers are actually UK born or based or raised or something along those lines. So Sofia Isella is native to Los Angeles, and she does not have an album yet, which is interesting. She's only released singles and EPs, and I thought this was an interesting call out in her Instagram post announcing her being an addition as an opener to the Eras Tour. She called out that she's actually never met Taylor Swift, and for someone to change her life so drastically without even meeting her meant so much, so I thought that was really cool. Sofia Isella is also the youngest of any of the openers that have been added. I'm not sure. She might be the youngest opener, period, for Taylor on the tour thus far. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But she is 19 years old. Like I mentioned, she was born in California, and there is close to zero information about her online. But what I could find, according to Sofia's website, there's literally 2 sentences about her, and that she is classically trained violinist, and she's a songwriter and producer, and in her words, a SLUT for words. So, the only article that I could really uncover talking about Sofia Isella was from a Voyage interview in 2020 when she was still 15 years old. It kind of reiterates what I just told you, but she did mention that she's a classically trained violinist and she got into Scottish fiddling and pop music when she was younger. She started lessons when she was 3, and her violin was a cardboard box at the time with a ruler attached to it. Kind of reminiscent of Taylor's early days with Taylor playing guitar very, very young. Sofia also mentioned that she had been homeschooled her whole life. She goes into a fun story in this Voyage article where basically she said for her 8th birthday, a lot of her mom's friends had gifted her journals. So she had a label maker at the time and decided to label each journal as a different purpose. One of them being a songwriting journal. And that sort of was like the inception of her passion for songwriting. So that's what I have for you in terms of Sofia Isella. I think this will be exciting and fun for a lot of people. And my takeaway from just doing a brief listen to some of her music from her discography currently and some of her reels on Instagram is that she's very much giving me like Billie Eilish vibes. We know that Billie Eilish is also born and raised native here in Los Angeles, I believe in Highland Park. So if you are a Billie Eilish fan, I think you will really enjoy the sound of Sofia Isella's music. And me being ambitious as always, I did shoot an email to Sofia Isella and her team to see if she would be interested in being a guest on the podcast, either to talk about her excitement for being a guest on the Eras Tour or following to recap her experience. I figured since she's the smallest of the artists, I would have the best chance of reaching her and getting in contact. So fingers crossed, putting that out there that she would like to be on Swiftie School. Sofia, we would love to have you. Now, moving on to artist number 2, let's talk about Holly Humberstone. Number 1, this name is so incredibly fun to say. Holly Humberstone. Humberstone, I just want to say that over and over again. Holly Humberstone, a little bit larger than the previous artist, not that it's a competition, but she's got 1.4 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and she currently has 2 albums, both being released somewhat recently in 2022 and 2023, titled Can You Afford to Lose Me and Paint My Bedroom Black. Holly is 24 years old, and I would describe her music as kind of like alternative indie music vibes. And like I had mentioned earlier, the rest of the artists that I'm going to talk about are English. So she's an English singer-songwriter from England. And this is something interesting that I found crossover with the previous round of artists that we had discussed for the June round of London shows. Holly won the Brit Award for Rising Star at the 2022 Brit Awards. And I believe that it was either Griff or someone else had also won this award, and I actually found a couple of the artists that I'm going to be talking about today have been awarded several things from the Brit Awards. So I'm not sure if Taylor has any sort of skin in the game when it comes to the Brit Awards, or maybe she's on a board, or maybe she's friends with people, or maybe it's just something as an industry professional she keeps her eye on to see who's winning awards, who is she in competition with, who should she keep her eye on, who should she be listening to, whatever it might be. I would be curious to know down the line if that's something that she keeps tabs on. I'm assuming so, being that a lot of these artists have been awarded something from the Brit Awards. So she won the Brit Award for Rising Star in 2022, and she was actually formerly a violinist for the Lincolnshire Youth Symphony. So a little crossover there from Sofia Isella that we had talked about earlier. And she was kind of discovered first by a manager while performing. I wasn't totally clear if she was performing violin, I'm assuming, but from what I could find online, she was first spotted by a manager while playing violin. She was performing on the BBC Music Introducing radio show. So really cool. Again, not a ton of information on Holly either, but someone that there is a little bit more information on. She's a little bit more seasoned in the entertainment industry is Suki Waterhouse. I know a lot of people are really excited about the addition of Suki Waterhouse, myself included, because she will be at my show. And full transparency, besides, let's see, the only two people I had heard of out of this edition of 5 artists is Raye and Suki Waterhouse. So those were the ones that I was most hoping for when I saw the announcement go up on Instagram. Suki Waterhouse has a very large following comparatively to some of the other artists. She's got nearly 10 million monthly listeners over on Spotify, and she does have one song in particular that I think most of you guys have probably heard if you listen to like top charting songs, and that very popular song is titled Good Looking. I believe it had its rounds on like TikTok and Instagram. It was pretty popular. I want to say like maybe a year ago or within the past year on socials. She does have one album and a couple of singles and EPs, and her one album was released in 2022 and it's called I Can't Let Go. Now, like I mentioned, Suki is a little bit more seasoned in the industry. She's 32 years old, and she has a little bit of crossover. She's sort of a triple threat. She is an English singer, songwriter. She's also an actress and a model. She was born and raised in London, and this is where I found, her career to be kind of interesting. She actually began her career in modeling at the age of 16, and she's went on to model for several major fashion labels. We're talking Tommy Hilfiger, Burberry, Hugo Boss, Laura Mercier, Ferragamo. I mean, these are major, major fashion labels. So kind of the pivot or her cross talent or cross contamination with talent is really interesting, because I feel like most people who are a model, they're not also an actress and they're not also good at singing. So definitely a triple threat coming in hot there. And a lot of you guys are probably familiar with her from the musical miniseries, I should say musical drama miniseries, which is Daisy Jones and the Six. This was really popular in 2023. I never saw it, but a lot of people really, really enjoyed it. And I think that this really catapulted Suki into being more of a household name, if you will. I also remember her having a pretty fantastic outfit at the Met Gala, either last year or this year, if I'm not mistaken. I believe there was like a floral element to it, which makes me think it was this year. So if you're interested in looking at her Met Gala outfit, I recommend looking at it. Now, I had a lot of fun researching Maisie Peters because I heard from a lot of you guys that it seems like Gen Z girly pops are really big fans of Maisie Peters, which I'm curious to know where you guys had discovered her, because I'd never heard of Maisie Peters. She's got around 2 million monthly listeners on Spotify and 2 different albums. One that came out around 3 years ago in 2021 called You Signed Up for This, and then another in 2023 called The Good Witch. Maisie is 24 years old, and again, she is an English singer-songwriter, and she's currently signed to Ed Sheeran's record label. So his record label, did you guys know it was called Gingerbread Man Records? I kind of love that. But she signed to Ed Sheeran's record label. She was previously signed to, I believe it was Interscope. I didn't write it down, but I think it was Interscope. And she ended up switching a couple of years ago to Ed Sheeran's label and then released some new music under that label. So the cool thing about Maisie is she actually has a twin sister. I don't know anything about her twin sister. Her name is Ellen, but she was the inspiration behind a really popular single of Maisie's, which is called Brooklyn, that came out in 2021. So if you're going to check her out, I would recommend checking out the song Brooklyn, and keep in mind that the sort of storyline of this song is about her twin sister. Similar to Taylor's sort of interest in music at a young age, so did Maisie. She really dove into music before the age of 10 years old. I believe she said she wrote her first song at 9 years old. And then from there, she kind of regularly started to write songs around the age of 12. She borrowed a friend's guitar for a school project, and the rest was kind of history. Really interesting and sort of a bummer. In 2020, Maisie Peters was actually supposed to be one of the openers for Niall Horan's tour, but obviously we know what happened in 2020. So many concerts got canceled, and that is what happened with this one. The silver lining here is that Maisie Peters was able later on in 2022 to join the Ed Sheeran most recent tour. I don't know, what do you call this tour? The plus minus equals divided by multiplication, whatever that tour was. She was able to join that one as an opening act. So I'm sure because of her talent and being signed to his Gingerbread Man Records, got her recognized enough to be able to be an opener for him, or maybe Ed Sheeran really thinks that she is an artist to watch. I'm sure, being that we know Taylor and Ed Sheeran are friends, that is how the connection sort of came about with Maisie, but I'm really excited for anybody who's going to be able to enjoy her opening set for the Eras Tour. Now, the final person that I have for the openers to tell you about is arguably the most interesting, but by far, undeniably the largest artist of any of them opening for Taylor. So this is Raye, and Raye has 27.1 million monthly listeners on Spotify alone. She has some really, really, really massively huge hits, including the songs Prada, Escapism, Worth It. Lots of huge hits. If you listen to them, you're like, oh, I've probably heard these somewhere, some shape or another. But the interesting part of this is, while she has so many huge, massive hits with millions and millions and millions and millions of streams and listens, she only has one album. And this one album came out last year in 2023, and it is called My 21st Century Blues. Now, going on the theme of the awards that a lot of these people have won, Raye had actually been awarded for the Brit Song of the Year. She kind of falls into like what I would say is like the pop R&B category. And of course, she is also British. She's an English singer-songwriter. But what's most interesting about Raye for me is that she had this like sort of Chapel Roan moment over the past year of like wildly huge growth and success. But what's most interestingly is, before this breakthrough as sort of a solo artist, she was a very, very successful songwriter, and she wrote songs for some really huge people, including Beyonce. Like, what? She was a songwriter for Beyonce, Little Mix, Rihanna, David Guetta, John Legend, Ellie Goulding. Like, these are not small artists. So she is no stranger to the music scene. And this is sort of reminding me of BB Rexa. BB Rexa had a similar trajectory with her career, starting as a songwriter and making the transition to a solo artist. But Raye had sort of this interesting perfect storm of things happen with this 2023 album, because when she released her single Escapism in 2022, it went absolutely massively viral over on TikTok. And this was her first song to top the UK singles chart. So really started her sort of solo career off on a wonderful foot. And I think that it's kind of obvious, being that she's worked with a lot of huge artists, including Beyonce, which we know Taylor runs in that circle. Beyonce, they both run in each other's circle, that in some way or another, Taylor has probably come across the name or met Raye or whatever it might be. And then, of course, going back to the Brit Awards, she won Album of the Year at the 2024 Brit Awards. So lots of huge success and wins and nominations and accolades for Raye very early on in her solo career, which is really exciting. And I'm sure it's such an incredible honor to now be performing on the stage and being the one facing the audience, being forward facing after so many years of kind of being the ghostwriter behind the scenes. Because let's be honest, there is very little recognition for people who are songwriters, because you hear a Beyonce song, you're not like, ooh, who wrote this song? You're listening to the song and you're enjoying it, and you just, you call it Beyonce's song titled blah, blah, blah. So anyways, we love a glow up. We love a come up story. I'm really, really, really excited for these London shows for very obvious reasons, but also for the fact that we're just getting something new, funky, and fresh this late in the game when it comes to the Eras Tour. I think we're rounding like 80% done with the tour, maybe even a little bit further, which is absolutely wild and crazy. And I cannot believe that we are already there. Now, speaking of Patreon, from the beginning of the episode, I did want to welcome some of the new members that had jumped the gun and joined as soon as I had made the announcement of opening up the Clown Call this month to anybody who wants to join. And those three members are Alana, Raquel, and Izzy. I am so excited for you three to hopefully participate in the upcoming Clown Call, but just be a member in general of the Patreon. As always, you guys can go to patreon.com/swiftieschool to further support me and the podcast and all things Taylor Swift related, and of course, take advantage of all the different benefits. Something I wanted to call out with the Patreon is that if you do decide to join this month, you get access to everything from the archive, meaning all of the bonus episodes from the past year, all of the free downloads, all the discussion boards, everything is in there. And it doesn't just mean that you're going to get access to this month. You can go through everything and just download your happy heart away, listen away, whatever it might be. So for only $2, you can have so much fun with us, and I hope that you will join me. But for today, that is all I have for you, and I cannot wait for the next couple of episodes, because let me just tell you, I am so excited for these guests. And if you enjoyed the episode with K-Tone a few months back, I think you're really going to enjoy these guests that are going to be on the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or just rate or subscribe on YouTube. Whatever makes your heart happy. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, it's another great day to be live at the same time as Taylor Swift. Bye!
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. I know all too well how busy life can be, and I am so grateful that you chose to stay. Now just know this is me trying, and I would greatly appreciate if you took a minute to leave a review or maybe share this episode with a fellow Swiftie. Make sure you join my broadcast channel on Instagram for more Swiftivities, and long story short, this love is real and I'm beyond grateful for your support. See you next time!